Hey there everyone, this is Dan Davis of the American Battlefield Trust. I've got Andy Poulton behind the camera. Rick Wise, one of our great friends and partners from the South Carolina Battleground Preservation Trust, will be joining us in just a little bit. As you may surmise, we are in South Carolina. We've been in Camden, South Carolina for the last couple of days. We decided to go out and take a little trip, a little journey along the Liberty Trail. The Liberty Trail is a major project that the Trust has undertaken with our partners here in South Carolina to preserve and interpret the battlefields of the American Revolution. And we're standing on one of those battlefields right now, Buford's Battleground, or the Battle of the Waxhaws, fought on May 29th, 1780. Now, how do we get all the way down to South Carolina? Many folks usually associate the American Revolution with the northern colonies or the northern states, New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania. Well, in New York, at Saratoga, in the fall of 1777, Lieutenant General John Burgoyne is going to surrender his British army to Horatio Gates and his Continental force. And the battle at Saratoga, Burgoyne's surrender, is going to turn the American Revolution on its head. The revolution is going to go from just a localized rebellion in Great Britain's North American colonies to a world war. France and other belligerent nations of Europe are going to enter into the conflict on the side of the United States. And this is going to force King George III and his advisors to reassess their strategy. They decide to do two things after Saratoga. One, concentrate their forces back along the coast and rely on the British Navy, and also to move the war into the southern colonies. Savannah is going to fall in 1779. And then the day after Christmas, 1780, this fellow over here on one of our brand new interpretive signs, by the way, Henry Clinton, the commander-in-chief of British forces in North America, is going to leave his base in New York City, sailing along the coast, and his target is right here to the right of the portrait, Charleston, South Carolina. Charleston is one of the largest cities in North America. It's one of the richest, if not the richest city in the South, and it is the gateway to South Carolina. Clinton must capture Charleston before the British can move into the interior and pacify the rest of the state along with North Carolina and Virginia. And Clinton's going to do that in May of 1780. Major General Benjamin Lincoln is going to surrender the city to Clinton. It's a major, major blow to the cause of independence and to the Continental Army. And from there, Clinton is going to go back to New York. He's going to leave his second in command, Lord Charles Cornwallis, here in South Carolina to conduct the campaigns through the remainder of the state. And the British are going to begin establishing outposts throughout South Carolina to pacify the state and to support their operations as they hopefully, in their minds, move farther to the north. But a battle's going to take place here just a couple weeks after Charleston falls. And it takes place here because a Virginia detachment, the 3rd Virginia Detachment under the command of a fellow named Abraham Buford. He's a colonel. You might recognize the name if you're a fan of the American Civil War. He's a relative of John Buford. Abraham Buford has been serving in the South. He has one of the few remaining detachments of Continental soldiers with him that did not surrender at Charleston, and he's going to begin a long retreat from the outskirts of Charleston all the way up to where we are in the Waxhaws area on the border of North Carolina and South Carolina. And as Buford begins this retreat, Cornwallis is going to send an up-and-coming officer in pursuit of the Continentals. That up-and-coming officer's name is Banastre Tarleton. Tarleton is a veteran officer. He'd served in the 1st Dragoons. He had participated in the capture of Continental General Charles Lee at Basking Ridge in New Jersey back in December of 1776, and he will eventually rise to the rank of Lieutenant Colonel to take command of the British Legion. The British Legion is not, in fact, British. It's a loyalist unit that was recruited here in the colonies from New York loyalists, and it consists of not only a cavalry contingent, but an infantry contingent as well. And Tarleton is going to begin moving northward at literally breakneck speed, riding his horses into the ground, double mounting his dragoons and his infantry. He also has some men from the 17th Light Dragoons with him as they continue their pursuit of Abraham Buford and the Virginians. And to talk a little bit more about that pursuit and to talk about the battle that takes place here, I'm going to bring on our friend Rick Wise. He's the president and CEO of the South Carolina Battleground Preservation Trust. Rick, come on to the camera and take it away.
Tarleton, whenever he received a mission like this, was like a dog with a bone. He had been given permission by Cornwallis to pursue, and if he thought it was too difficult, to be able to break off the pursuit. That wasn't Tarleton at all. He rode 105 miles in 54 hours to be able to catch up to Buford. Let's set the conditions. The road that they're coming down back here is very muddy. It has been rainy, and Buford's men are here. They have stopped because they know that Tarleton is about to catch up to them. Tarleton had actually sent summons for their surrenders. Buford had refused. In a greater distance over to the north were the wagons and other supplies for this detachment that was moving. Here at this site, Buford has 350 of his Continental soldiers. He is going to make a stand right here. In the distance, as you see the rising ground and a small hill, that is where Tarleton arrives, and he deploys his troops. He has got cavalry and infantry over to this side of the battlefield on the other side of the road. He has them there, and then on the side of the road that we're standing, Tarleton actually has a detachment of what he called select men who are going to be attacking with him. One of the things that we talk about here at the battlefield at the Waxhaws is this is where Lieutenant Colonel Tarleton becomes Lieutenant Tarleton. Instead of exercising command and control, he is going to be involved in the attack. And as the attack comes forward, his horse is actually shot from under him, and he is caught under the horse, and it takes a while for him to be extricated from the horse. When that happens, there are a lot of things that are going to transpire. As Tarleton's men advance across this field, one of the things that Buford does, and we have to remember this, it was not a field at the time, it was a wooded area. And as they're coming through the woods towards Buford, Buford has his men form into line. And as those men are formed into line, what's going to happen is he is going to give a fateful command. He is going to tell them not to fire until those troops are 10 yards away. That means you only have one volley to impact this charge that's coming towards you. Cavalry with sabers. Infantry is going to be coming across with muskets and bayonets. Archaeology shows that there was a firefight, at least somewhat of a firefight that takes place here on both sides of the road. But one of the things we do know is that that one volley was not enough. They are hit hard, and a surrender at that time is offered by the Continentals. However, they can't find Tarleton. Tarleton is down with his horse. There are several accounts saying that a white flag was sent forward and it was refused. When you look at primary sources, it's very difficult to tell exactly what happened in there, except the fact there was a great amount of confusion. And with Tarleton being down, there was really no one exercising the command and control of the battle from the British side necessary at this particular moment. What we do know, and what Tarleton later said in his memoirs, was that his men, thinking he was dead, they probably took it to the next level. There are historians that will tell you that this was not a massacre, that it was, they really didn't mean to do this. Well, folks, I'm here to tell you, let's look at some of the statistics. Buford has 350 men. Of those 350 men, 113 are killed outright on the battlefield. 153 are wounded, and 50 are taken prisoner. When you look at those statistics, it pretty well sounds to me, with about 80% casualties, that yes, that was definitely a massacre. There are accounts of the British soldiers taking their bayonets and pitching bodies off of folks that were underneath that they thought that they could bayonet because they were still alive. It was a terrible travesty. At the conclusion of this battle, the people from the Waxhaws, to include Andrew Jackson and his family, came to take care of the wounded. If you look at the fact that the vast majority of those men who were wounded were not moved with Tarleton, it was because they were too savagely hacked up to be able to transport. Only about 50 men went with him when they went back to Charleston. This was one of the most poignant moments in the Revolutionary War. This is where the Patriots took advantage, and they were able to use the results of this battle to rally people to their cause. And one of those rallying cries was Tarleton's Quarter, meaning take no prisoners. Tarleton's Quarter was heard at the Battle of Kings Mountain. Tarleton's Quarter was heard at Cowpens. It was a savage time here in South Carolina. Many people do not realize the Civil War that took place here in this state, particularly from 1780 to 1782. As has been mentioned before, the soldiers who committed this massacre, they were not British soldiers for the most part. Tarleton was, part of the 17th Cavalry was, most of them were Americans who were loyalists. So when we look at this, yes, part of the Civil War in America during the American Revolution took place on this site, and this is hallowed ground.
Thanks, Rick. Join us as we continue on our journey along the Liberty Trail. We're going to be visiting a number of sites using Camden as our headquarters, something that you can do as well when you come to South Carolina. Also, be sure to download the Liberty Trail app that'll take you not only from here at Waxhaws, but to Camden, Hanging Rock, and other surrounding places throughout the state that are important to the history of the American Revolution here in South Carolina. For the American Battlefield Trust, I'm Dan Davis. A huge thanks to our friends at the South Carolina Battleground Preservation Trust. And for Andy Poulton behind the camera, please continue watching these videos. Thank you for supporting battlefield preservation and education.
Hello, this is Trace Atkins. Get inspired at battlefields.org.